Thank you, Daniel. Let me, because I know we are pressed with time and we are sitting between people and their lunch, and that's a pretty dangerous spot to be in. I'll focus only on basically three things on the topic that we are discussing today, and this is from a Cypriot perspective, which also, of course, is looking at the wider region. And I of course, couldn't start with anything else other than the most recent discovery that we've had offshore Cyprus, which was discovered by ExxonMobil and Qatar Petroleum last February, about 5 to 8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, a sizable discovery. And just to put it into perspective, that's just about a bit more than 40% of EU's gas imports in 2018. So that's a pretty sizable discovery, which is, of course, helping us in the direction of creating this energy hub in the Southeast Europe, whether you are a producing country, whether you are a consuming country, or indeed whether you are a transit country. And within that topic, I also would like to mention that the exploration program, because of these discoveries as well, will intensify further, and we will be looking at 5 more exploration wells and about 4 appraisal wells. Appraisal wells are needed to confirm the discoveries that you have done before. Another 4 appraisal wells within the next 24 months. So pretty extensive program, which we are hoping will add up into the proven quantities of the Eastern Med, as we are trying, of course, to create what we vision to be a gas corridor from the Southeastern Med to the European markets. And talking about that, the second topic I wanted to talk about is the progress we have done so far in our discussions in monetizing the Aphrodite field. We are now in the closing stages of our discussions with the companies for the field development plan. This is the detailed plan of what will happen over the next few months and years in order for us to monetize that resource. And with the agreement of the field development plan, we should be issuing an exploitation license, which will happen for the first time in Cyprus. And currently the plan is that this gas will be piped to Egypt, liquefied, and then shipped into the European markets, potentially through some of the FSRUs, which are currently operating in Greece or are under consideration, as Mr. Hadjidakis just mentioned before. And again, this is the first step to create the East Med gas corridor, which of course could entail in the future other solutions, such as the East Med gas pipeline, or such as a greenfield LNG project, depending, of course, whether the discoveries in the Eastern Med are making economic sense. And of course, the last piece I wanted to touch upon is what my colleague just talked about, the collaboration in the Eastern Med. It was quite extensively discussed this morning at the panel of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, what a turbulent region the Eastern Med is. And this is a key reason why the 7 countries came together to create last January the East Med Gas Forum. We are meeting next week for the second time. And part of the reason and part of the discussions will be this platform and how does it deepen the collaboration between the countries, not only on technical matters, not only on understanding, but also on how do you make the Eastern Med a competitive region? How do we make sure that producing countries, consuming countries, transit countries, as a region, we can compete? It's no secret that the US is expanding its exports of LNG. Right? And it's going to become, while demand for LNG will continue to increase as we envision, we will also see that competition will also intensify. So it is important for these countries to have a platform of dialogue, of understanding, of how do we create common infrastructures, how do we create these corridors, how do we make the Eastern Med more competitive. So I believe the ingredients are there: exploration, exploitation, creating the corridors, and the platform for collaboration to create the Southeast Mediterranean gas hub.
Thank you, and very clear. One thing you didn't mention, however, was of course Turkey. There was some talk of Turkey this morning in the foreign ministers' session. But how can you bring about a situation whereby Turkey becomes a collaborator rather than a competitor in this scenario?
And Daniel, I believe it was also evident from the discussion this morning that this is everyone's aspiration, that Turkey becomes part of the solution rather than the role it plays today being part of the problem, right? And frankly speaking, what we have been seeing over the past few months with severe violations of Cyprus's sovereign rights has been a setback. The EU has responded, the US has responded, a lot of international players have. But I also think that it is important to keep our eyes on the ball, because what does Turkey intend to make out of all this situation? I believe the number one aim is to create turbulence so that it becomes difficult for companies to operate in the upstream or in the midstream, or to invest the billions of dollars that are needed to create this infrastructure. So I think Greece and Cyprus, it is crucial that we keep our eye on the ball, we keep focus on what we are doing, we keep expanding the collaboration with other countries, right? Not excluding anyone, but at the same time respecting each other's sovereign rights and rule of law.
And do you have any dialogue or conversation with Turkey in the meantime on this, or is it going on in
the last call, as was mentioned by the Minister of Foreign Affairs this morning, was for Turkey to start discussions with us about the delineation zones, which are necessary. And frankly, we have agreements with Egypt, we have agreements with Israel, we have agreements with Lebanon, which are based on the median line on UNCLOS, and we have called upon Turkey on numerous occasions to come and have a similar delineation agreement with us.
Thank you.